I am joined here today with Celeste O'Neil from the Biondi Group. Thanks for joining us today, Celeste.
Thank you, Madeline.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your role at the Biondi Group.
Well, the Biondi Group is actually a small, family-owned, but yet emerging money management firm with 20 employees. So, my HR role is a generalist role. I do all aspects of HR. And like any small business, I wear multiple hats. I do finance, I help run the office, and I do community relations and some client events as well. So again, it's mixed, but core HR, all aspects.
Can you describe some of your unique interviewing techniques?
Well, I think, let me first talk a little bit about some of my overall technique, and we'll see what's really non-traditional. I use what I've used for a number of years, behavioral-based approach. I find that it's the best way to really get at the right people and the right talent that we're looking for in our organization. And by behavioral-based, I mean other people may have different opinions of that, but it's based on the principle that past behavior is a predictor of future behavior. And I want to know in that interview, give me a story, tell me a story about you, about a project, about a situation, something that will tell me a lot about your skills and a little bit about you. I use the CAR principle. The acronym is for circumstances, action, and results. I want details. I want a story fully closed, from beginning, middle to end about a success. So that's the framework for the basic interview style. And some of the other, I guess we'd call it non-traditional techniques, with so much technology in the world now, we look at some of the more basic communication skills, and I really do a 5-question handwritten out form for every candidate. And those questions vary from time to time, but I want to see them handwrite spontaneously, and I do get a couple of funny looks when people sit down and they're like, where's the computer? And it's a pen and it's a paper, and they write. And the questions are based on some of the core values that we have. One of my key questions is, tell me about a time that you really hated your job. I want to know why you hated it and how you responded to that and what you did to deal with it. So I use those questions as the basis for an interview. First of all, it gives consistency. I do it consistently with every candidate, and it gives me a sense of their natural ability to write, to think. Handwriting can tell you a bit. I'm okay. I don't care about cross-outs and all of that. I care about that sort of on the spot. Can I sit down and really write something? Which is an important skill that can get overlooked. So that's I think, pretty non-traditional approach. I also, because we're a family business, and we have, the team, the team dynamic is so important. At a certain level of professional interviewing with candidates, and especially those that I'm trying to recruit into Milford, Pennsylvania, where we're 60 miles north of New York City, but it's still, the setting is attractive to some and maybe not to others. I want to really figure that out at interview. So we actually take a walk together. I certainly screen and see if they'd like to walk, if there's any disability. I'm careful about that. But, the walk in the morning really presents a great opportunity to see how they look at the surroundings, how they interact. Are they comfortable? Is there a barking dog nearby? What's going on during that whole time that we're walking together? It's kind of relaxing. So that's, I think, probably in the non-traditional bucket. And then we have breakfast, of course, and continue in the interview. And I think the last maybe non-traditional approach is, in a family business, getting that family dynamic is important. So with candidates who are really in sort of the final round, the owner will have a dinner at his home and prepare the food. Family is there and a few employees, and we really have, we just have a family dinner. And that interaction is really important in seeing, gee, they've got the skills, they've got a lot of things, but are they going to really relate to this unique family business? So I really think those three things are probably in the more non-traditional category.
Have you ever lost a quality applicant because they were not open to this style of interviewing?
I bet I have. I think that, I've been told that I give kind of an intense interview. I mean, from people who I've hired later will say, wow, you were really tough. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I really try to get people to relax. I mean, it isn't an inquisition. It's a good conversation. But, work is intense, and you only have these a few venues that you can assess a candidate, and you want to turn up the heat a little bit in terms of follow-up questions. I do a lot of, for example, somebody will say, oh, I'm really passionate about the financial industry, and I say, okay, who do you follow and why? So I've had a few stumble on that, and somebody said, well, I watch a lot of CNBC. Okay, that's not really what we're looking for. I mean, I want people to back it up. And, I'm very comfortable with silence, too. I use silence in an interview. Maybe that's non-traditional, too. It's okay to not talk for a few minutes. Well, maybe not a few minutes, but, 30 seconds, regroup. Are they comfortable with silence? And that can be intimidating. So maybe I've lost a few, but I think I'd rather get it right up front than get somebody in and not do those techniques and find out later they really weren't a good fit.
What is the most unusual interview you ever conducted?
Well, it's the one that always comes to mind, and it's not in my current position. It was with a head injury center that I worked for, a security guard position, and we had a number of former police officers apply for the job, and one of them that I interviewed was extremely intense, and he had worked on a number of high-profile cases in New York and brought a 30-page scrapbook of newspaper clippings, and one by one he wanted me to look at the gory clippings of these cases, which included the Son of Sam case. And I think I really remember that when it's saying, that's really great. I think I'm okay. I get the idea of your career, but that one really sticks out as being out there.
You've had great success in a small organization. Do you think this would work for larger organizations?
I think it would, with a couple of conditions. Think about it. I think that a department in a large company can be like a small business, depending on how it's run. So I think if the feel of the culture is there, I think that would work. As well as, again, if there's some creativity and latitude for the HR group, and they see the value in this and can put in a little bit extra time. Taking a walk might be seen as maybe a little bit of a waste of time. Don't know, but yes, I think with the right attitude and the right support, I think it would work for a large company as well.
Thanks, Celeste. Before we wrap this up, do you have any advice for other recruiters and HR professionals out there that might want to adopt some of your techniques?
I think that's a great question, Madeline. I think a couple of things are important, and that is, you know your culture. You've got to know the culture of your company, and what are your values, and then from that, you can decide, gee, I really need somebody who's flexible. I really need somebody who can think independently, and then from that, once you know your culture, and then the qualities that you're really looking for, you can be creative in figuring out ways to do that. So I think it's really in those three steps. Know the culture, develop the qualities, and then think a little bit outside the box, and work hard to bring in the right talent. I think that's what HR professionals are really challenged with today.
Thanks, Celeste. Thanks for taking the time to join us today, and I look forward to hearing some of your follow-up stories.
Thank you, Madeline. This has really been a pleasure. Thanks so much.